Ciao amici e benvenuti nella peso sulla luna. Hello friends. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know by my attempt at an Italian intro to this video that this is my series in which I use Cercle de Lune adjacent, or antique Italian decks to help me get a central message from my weekly larger reading. On that weekly larger reading, my question always is the same. How can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming weeks? And I pull a large spread. These days I'm using what I call my 5-element spread. So there are 12 cards. I've done bigger spreads. I've done 15 card spreads in the past, but this is a 12 card spread. That's pretty big, and it takes a while to work through. So to get a concise, shorter message from that spread, I pull some cards from, like I said, Cercle de Lune adjacent, or antique Italian deck. And because I was using Italian, you're probably thinking, so this week it's an antique Italian deck. Kind of, but I'll show you the deck in just a little bit, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. You might be a little surprised. But just in case you have not seen this week's larger video, I think the title to the video was Here in the Midst of Change. So it's a New Year video. It turns out that the spread for the new year was all about opportunities which are about to be revealed, or new things which are about to be revealed, and the discomfort of that here in the midst of change. And if you haven't seen that larger video, I'll put a link up here for you to hop on over and take a look at that, because it really does help, I believe, to see that video and then come here and see the more concise message that I get from a different spread. Does that make sense? And remember, it's a larger video, but you don't have to watch it in one sitting. You can watch it in bits and pieces and then come back. Now, just in case you have watched it in bits and pieces and have come back to watch this, and you may be trying to remember what it was you just saw, let me give you some... the cliff notes, not even the cliff notes, but a couple of things just to spark your memory. Now, we started off with the 2 of coins, discs, which gave us the sense that things are changing. Yeah, things are changing. We're bringing things together, but that change is has the potential for being uncomfortable. And in our emotional aspects, we found the Ace of Discs, which is that new opportunity, or that new possibility, the new manifestation, but it's not there yet, which is good, because the last card of the Earth's part of the suit, which would have been over here, was the Judgment card, which is saying, yes, you're preparing the ground, you're not there yet, but get ready for it, right? And that just seemed like such a perfect message, or perfect thing for us to give our attention to here at the end of 2023 as we get ready to move into 2024. And we had 2 good bits of advice from the I Ching oracles, which were: 1, don't walk blindly forward. Be aware of where we are, what we're doing. Maybe give more attention to our inner development than to challenges in the outside world. And be cautious. Don't step on a tiger, because if we do, we'll get bit. We can avoid stepping on the tiger's tail. Right? So, here we are, ready to ask the question, okay, so what is the central message of this week's elemental card spread? And before we look at the cards, let me say thank you. Thank you to all of you who have already hit the thumbs up button and have subscribed to this channel, because you are a blessing to me, you're a blessing to the channel, and you're a blessing to other people as well, because those small actions that we do help bring the channel and the videos out in front of the eyes of other people who would probably benefit from watching this or would enjoy watching this. So those things that you do help other people as well. So thank you for doing that. Thank you very much. And thank you to those who've reached out and asked for a private reading from me. My email address is below. If you haven't done that, I am inviting you. Send me an email to thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com and we'll get you a reading with Tarot de Marseille, Thoth deck maybe, Smith-Waite deck. Your choice, or we can choose together. Okay? Okay. So, friends, we're ready. Let me show you the question I asked, same as every week, and then I'll show you the cards that we got, and we'll talk about it all. Here we go. Take a look. Friends, what did you think of those cards? Were you shocked? Were you appalled? Were you thinking, what is wrong with him? Now, generally in this series, I use Tarot de Marseille or antique Italian decks especially those decks that are similar to Tarot de Marseille. Of course, Tarot de Marseille grew out of the Italian tradition, but there are decks from Italy that are very similar to Tarot de Marseille, and there are decks that are not. And this deck is neither one that is similar to Tarot de Marseille, nor is it similar to is it similar to an antique deck? It's hard to say. What is it? The title, it's a mass market deck. It's produced by Lo Scarabeo, created by Giordano Berti, and I bought it because it was created by Giordano Berti. Giordano Berti is one of my favorite people in the world, and I love his work. And so I got this deck. And, you know, I'm not such a great fan of bling on my decks, really, I'm not. And it worries me a little bit because of photography and using video camera and that shiny gold on it. I mean, it's kind of pretty, I guess, to look at in person in a fairly dark room. But no, I'm really just not such a big fan of gilding on, especially on the face of decks. The sides, it's okay. But this deck has a lot of gold on it. And it's a recreation of the so-called Tarot of Charles VI. Now, why did I give an Italian introduction to this video? Well, the pseudo or the so-called Charles VI Tarot was actually an Italian deck. It was created in, at least as I understand it, in Torino, northern Italy, but still Italy. Now this recreation, the majors are pretty much what the Charles VI deck, we don't have all of the cards. So one of the cards, I think it was the Devil card, maybe. So we're missing some of the major arcana, and we're missing a lot of the minor arcana. I think we're missing at least one of the court cards from the so-called Charles VI deck. And so to make it a full deck, those all have to be recreated. Now, for this deck, the majors are pretty much what we would expect from the Charles VI. Now, I've got another deck by Giordano Berti, not mass market, that used to be on Make Playing cards, which is closer to the original that we have in the museums, and then the added cards are filled in different ways. So this deck is neither antique, Italian, nor not. It's one of those weird, I don't know where to place this deck. It's not a modern deck, but it's modernly produced. It is mass market. You can get it if you want it. And there's beauty to this deck, but I'm just not sure where to place it. So I decided I'd pull it into this series. Yeah? It's kind of a wayward child, but it's a beautiful deck. There's beauty in it. Like I said, I'm not such a huge fan of bling, but I like it. I like this. I like this a lot. The Lo Scarabeo multilingual borders are on the sides, so I don't love them. I don't love the cream color of the border, but you know, it doesn't make me want to lop it off either. Particularly because if I were to lop it off, the backs would be totally messed up, and I like the backs to this deck. Isn't that pretty? And classic looking? I like the backs. So I don't want to mess up the backs, and I can live with the side border. It's better than having a huge border at the top and the bottom with 5 languages, you know. The extra languages on this card are a little bit subtle. I mean, they're not beating you over the head. They don't feel like they're eating into the card space, you know. So I'm okay. So let's talk about the spread. Oh, we also had a card from the Zamor Twins Oracle by the wonderful and beautiful and talented Patrick Valenza. And there will be a link to this deck and to the Amazon page for this deck as well. Okay? So we're going to start off with the 3 cards from the Tarot. And you saw we had, well, maybe you didn't see because you can't read the little words on the side very easily, and it's hard to tell in this deck, but the cards were, from left to right, the Ace of Wands, the Chariot, and the 9 of Wands. So yes, this is the Ace of Wands right here. This is the Chariot. Maybe you could tell this was the Chariot. And no, these are not swords, these are wands. This is the 9 of Wands. So we got, in one card, the Ace of Wands, we got the guy sitting up on the tree, right? In the Chariot, the guy is standing on the chariot. So he's gone from this singular potential to something that is moving forward and is elevated socially. But then the third card is kind of a bringing down, right? The central card, the guy is standing up on the cart, the chariot, with 2 horses pulling him forward. And in the third card, instead of 2 horses, we got 2 oxen, and he's the one pulling them forward. So we go to this peak, and then there seems to be a drop off here, right? This new thing, we go to this pinnacle, we move up into this chariot, and then the 9 of Wands seems to be a drop, right? Does that make sense to you? Can you see that progression in these 3 cards together? Can you see that? Well, we're going to start off with the Ace of Wands, whether you like it or not. So let's start off with this Ace of Wands. It's beautiful. Need to learn that it's the Ace of Wands, but it's beautiful. First thing I actually thought was a little bit of the Tower card, because sometimes the Tower card is portrayed as a lightning hitting a tree and the tree igniting in flames. Le feu d'eau, the lightning. So I almost thought of that, and then I also thought, well, or maybe this is the Sun card. But no, it's the Ace of Wands. So what is the Ace of Wands? It's a new creation. Now, a new area of creativity is also possible. Yeah. So the new creation or a new area of creativity. So the new thing or the new way of creating. A creative inspiration is possible here too. Yeah. Wands for me are inspiration, cups are intuition. So a creative inspiration, something, I want to do this. New desires. Could be sexual, not necessarily. New movement, which is interesting because the next card is going to be the Chariot. Yeah, new movement. There's a potential vital energy here. A potential vital energy. The vital life force, but still in potential because it's the Ace. So we have the means to create and reproduce here. But we haven't actually started doing that yet. We haven't started reproducing yet. That was perhaps unfortunate, but we haven't started reproducing yet or creating yet, but we have the potential here. We have the strength and we have the sexual potency to reproduce and create. Beautiful card. New and in potential. Something to be explored and nurtured, right? And then the next card we have the actual movement forward. So we start with this potential, this new area or new creation, new area of creation or new creation with new desires perhaps, new vital energy. Remember, we're coming from a larger spread about here in the midst of change. So within that midst of change, there is this. And we had the King of Wands, the Knight of Wands. In the Smith Waite and in the Tarot de Marseille, for me, that would be the King of Wands. But the Knight of Wands in the Harris Crowley deck, the Thoth deck, is all about fire of fire, right? That desire, movement forward, bursts of energy. It's also indicated here. It's also indicated here. And then we move into the actual movement forward with the Chariot. That action in the world. We start putting that potential into action. And we can be victorious. We can be successful. Our undertaking can become successful. Wonderful. We have clarity. We have direction. We have the power to act intensely. We have intensity to our action if possible. It could also be the potential for travel and a journey, but I don't think that's really what this is pointing to for us here. There's also the two horses, right? A harmony between our inner aspects of animus and anima. Mind, aspects of mind, right? Mind in the material world. Not necessarily the eternal mind of our eternal natures, but rather the mind here in the eternal world with those contrasting aspects which we can harmonize. As we act in the world and we move towards our success, we take up our undertaking of the Ace of Wands. But we also, movement forward, potential journey, that's possible. It's possible. Very possible. But then the next card gives us caution. Gives us warning. Be careful. Right? Now this guy is not knocked down, he's not beaten up, but his job is not easy. So we start moving forward, start moving towards success, but there's exhaustion as a potential. We may lose our motivation. Okay, just a second. I am so sorry, I just figured this out in a very different way. Because of the way these figures were looking, and really it's because of this guy. This guy threw me off. This guy back to us, can't really see what he's facing. These two guys seem to be looking in the same direction. I thought, okay, so we'll just read this way. Yeah, from left to right. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? No brainer. But really that was the no-brainer reading, I think. The brainer just kicked online and made me think this is the center. This is the key idea. Action in the world. Undertaking something with the potential for success, with clarity, with direction, with intensity, with power, harmonizing aspects of self. What aspects of self? These aspects of self. So, on one side, we have the new desire, the new movement, the potential vital energy, the means to create and reproduce. And on the other side, we have our exhaustion from what we've been through, which could also which could manifest as a lack of motivation. That, oh, but don't you know what I've been through? Yeah? We're experiencing a true and symbolic end to what was. And that can lead to this is the end. There might be some sacrifice and self-domination called for. And that's interesting because there was the potential for self-sacrifice for success that I pointed to in the larger spread. So we accept here. We accept the end. We experience the true end, which could leave us feeling exhausted and lacking motivation on one side, and on the other side of the chariot, we have the desire for the new, right? For the new area, the new creation, our sexual potency, our inner drive, our libido is rising. That libido is sexual in one way of looking at it, but libido is not always sexual. If you look at Adler particularly, our libido is our power to act in the world, to create, sexually or non-sexually, artistically, in business, in relationships, out of relationships, whatever. Libido is not only sexual, it is our ability and the power we have to create in the world. So that power is manifesting, is rising in us as we are sitting in the cloak of exhaustion. And we've got the chariot here in the middle, bringing those aspects of self in line for us to move forward. To harmonize. Yes, I am exhausted. Yes, I have this desire, this passion rising within me, and I can move into the world. I can experience the end. I can relish the beginning and move forward. With them together, not away from them, but with them together. Does that make sense? So, what is the Oracle card from the Zammer Twins Oracle by the beautiful and wonderful and brilliant Patrick Valenza? What is this card telling us? Well, this is the Harpy card. And the description for the Harpy card is, the Harpy is perched on top of a pile of rotting skulls. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? Now, in the larger spread this week, we did have the Death card, we had the Tower card, and we had the Judgment card. All death and resurrection, right? So this Harpy appearing as the final card of this week's spreads seems appropriate. Yeah, perched on top of a pile of rotting skulls, the vile Harpy spews her lies into existence. Those fooled by her treachery hear only a soft, sweet voice, while those who know better clearly discern the raspy shrill of an evil amplified. So we're called for discernment in this card, right? So we could become seduced. We could fall victim to deception and lies. Which is why we had the advice to be cautious, be aware, look within. Is what I'm doing aligned with my intention? We got that from this week's larger spread, and this card seems to be pointing to that. That's the advice. Negative, but now that could be from the outside, but it could also be from within. Our negative emotions and I quote Patrick Valenza, our dreadful thoughts could knock us off of our path, prevent us. That could, our own negative thoughts and our own fears and our own negative emotions could be the block that stands in our own way. That we're asked, that we would benefit from circumnavigating, right? So we come to the harpy and we discern, what is it that I'm really hearing? Is it my inner voice? And is this exhaustion here partly because of my negative emotions and my fearful thoughts, my worry? We had an indication of worry in the larger spread for this week. So, be careful of this. Sorry friends, my camera is telling me it's time to stop, so I'm going to stop. But that makes sense, right? So, be careful. Not be careful like, whoa, be careful, but be careful like, be aware. Look at those negative thoughts and feelings and discern. Be discerning. That's the word. Be discerning. And then we'll find the path forward, bringing aspects of self together to move in the direction that we want to go, following the powerful flow of our intention. So friends, here we are at the end. Thank you very much. I hope if this makes sense to you, let me know in the comments below. If it does not make sense to you, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, thank you. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Happy New Year.